can we do without illustrators? I mean, hey, these are the guys we rely on. So not including them in our conversations about the creation of content for children would be a complete error. Last year I had Mr. Tayo Fatima in the room. This year I have Paul Morton and I've got Tolu Shofule in the room. Woohoo! We are so lucky. Okay, hello to another episode of our preparations towards our Children and Authors Literary Fanfare taking place on the 28th of October. Yay!
Everyone. Thank you for that, Sade. I've never had such a big, huge introduction. And it is nice to be part of this project. And nice to meet Tolu again. We've met briefly at Public Conference in Winchester.
Yeah.
One thing I was going to open with, Tolu, I noticed that we do have a common ground because we've both got a background in graphic design. We've both got like another life to children's books.
Yeah.
I've had a long illustration career and I found that's both hindered me and helped me. I'll tell you how, and then maybe you could reflect on that. It's helped me tighten up. I've been used to working on deadlines, getting things ready, sometimes overnight for advertising, make you focus, makes you more professional.
Sure.
So all that part of it is a huge bonus, but it's hindered me, I've realized over the years, because I do lots of sort of glossy illustration for advertising. And I couldn't unshackle myself from that kind of style. When I turned to picture books, I've always wanted to do picture books. And I was bringing that kind of extra unnecessary finish to the picture books. It took me a long time to like unburden myself with that. So as well, it's been a bonus, it's been a burden, but I've managed to recognize that. I wonder if you'd found that or still finding that.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that you said this, because to be honest, I've had the same experience, but I haven't been able to explain it, the way you've done, because like you rightly said, the world of graphic design is like you go right in, you focus, and you've got to deliver on time and on budget, Whereas for children's book, it's not like, okay, you start it today and you finish it tomorrow. It's something that's going to take your time, take a lot of effort, and take ages for you to finish. So for me as well, my desire has always been to illustrate children's books ever since I knew about children's books, because I've been drawing since I was very little, and during my childhood, I was exposed to a lot of books, so, and I've always said to myself that one day I'm going to do that as well, but,
were you exposed to children's books, sorry, at school or at home?
Yeah, in school. Yeah. In primary school. Read a lot of Jack and Jill, Peter and Jane, a lot of The Wolf and the Three Pigs, and Goldilocks and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But as one progresses in life, and you find out that you've got bills to pay. Because I didn't go to school for graphic design. I didn't, I just picked it up.
Yeah.
My background is actually in architecture and also character animation. So, but in order to pay the bills, I was kind of like shepherd, into graphic design, whereby, hey, you get the brief, somebody wants something done quickly. Here you are, here's the brief, work on it, get paid. I mean, finish it and get paid. So yeah, I did that for a long time.
Yeah.
And like you rightly said, I think I sort of pigeonholed myself into that way of life. Yeah. So It's interesting the way you explained it, actually, because I've never been able to figure it out.
It took me a long time to realize that I wasn't happy with what I was doing. I could turn out these really nice pictures, but I wanted to look like these other illustrators. And I thought, why can't I be more spontaneous, maybe looser, and work more quickly? There's also the discipline. Obviously, there's discipline involved when you're working for like graphics and advertising. But when you've got your own project, and like you said, it's going to take months to complete, and unless you've got a publisher that's sort of badgering you and keeping you to a time, it's your time. So you've got to really employ self-discipline.
Yes, you actually need a lot of that, because I've got a book I'm working on, and I've been on it for 2 years. Whereas if it was for a client, I probably would have finished it in 6 months. So that self-discipline is key, especially in the children's book industry. And, and the perseverance, for you to persevere in the midst of, oh, okay, money is not coming in from this particular project I'm working on, but I'm still going to go ahead because I know in the near future, when I get it finished, I'll be able to sell it, But that's not a guarantee that you make money from it anyway, but at least you've got a product out there. So, yeah.
And you need to keep that enthusiasm and eagerness.
Yes, you do. You do.
Right. Writers, Sade, tend to try and write 2,000 words a day, or you've got that kind of discipline where you write every day?
I write I write in blocks. So I have times when I'm writing and I have times when I'm not writing. And that's because I'm still combining my education work, like you say, to pay the bills. And so I find I'm not one of those people who would wake up every morning or every night and write fiction. But I found I engage in some form of writing every day. Every time that we're creating text or posts or sending emails or reading other people's content, we are engaging with writing and reading. So I don't back myself down because I'm not writing fiction. I've come to learn that I do write every single day. The style and the format of writing, the genre of writing that I'm experimenting with is just different. Tolu, something that you said resonated with me because I grew up, started my education in England, reading the Ladybird series. Probably something that you would have done as well. And then my parents relocated to Nigeria. So at the age of 6, we were back in Nigeria and we were reading Queen Primer. And it was a Queen Primer in black and white. So in terms of my memories of picture books, they were the easy readers. We had the easy readers, which were the Ladybird series. And then I moved down there and I was reading in black and white. So I didn't actually see a picture book, a colored, full laid out picture book until I came back to live in England in the 90s. And when I got into teaching and then, meeting somebody like Sir Quentin Blake, I mean, you can imagine that just like took me to a completely different level. So my question really has to do with representation. How have you experienced representation in your art? Well, how easy or how difficult is it to show representation in your? So I want to throw this question to you first, Paul, and then you can take on from there.
It's I'm thinking about my background. I remember school books. I don't remember many picture books from when I was little. I kind of discovered picture books when I went to art college. The teacher took us to the kids' library and I thought, wow, never been in the kids' library to look at picture books before. I've just had books bought at Christmas and birthdays, but not that many. And I'm not being asked to illustrate for other people. I guess if I'd been asked to illustrate other people's texts, I would have come across having to represent different people in different books, but I'm just focusing at the moment on the handful of stories that I've got. But I think as a professional illustrator, I could turn my hand to anything. I've had enough experience.
I remember when the skin tone colored pencils started coming through into classrooms, because up until then, what we had were brown, yellow, black, and we were trying to mix. And then suddenly one year we saw these amazing tones, and we all have, I mean, you know, whatever race we are, we all have our own different shades. So it's that resource became powerful just for the teachers and also for the children, because the children suddenly realized, oh, actually I can draw that person now, and that was an exciting moment within the
And they're no longer called flesh color. Like flesh color was always like a pinky white.
Exactly.
That's no longer. That's some positive progress with me.
Exactly. Right, Tolu, you take it on for us.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of representation, I remember that even though I've been drawing for a long time, drawing Black people, African people, unless if you were a fine artist, most of my drawings were more of drawing white people. Why? Because that was what was on the screen. That was what was in our books, publications. Apart from some few Nigerian or Africa and author written books like I can't remember this author from South Africa. And then some Nigerian authors. But other than those, it was more or less like you were exposed to things that had white characters, white people in it. And I really sort of like grew up doing a lot of that, And if you would know as well, even in the early 2000s, representation wasn't like a major thing, It's only just of maybe a few years ago that it's kind of like really taking over, and everybody's like, hey, can you draw a character of this shade, of this shape and type, But it's always been like, if you're not drawing sort of like Disney-like characters, you're either no, what do I mean? Yeah, you're either drawing animals.
Okay.
Animals. So, but it wasn't until a few
recently,
like 4 years, really.
I get that. I get that.
Amazing to realize that, isn't it? That it is so.
Yeah. Because I even remember there was a time a friend of mine was like, oh, the Black characters you drew, I don't like, he was comparing my work to another artist who drew white characters. And it was like, I don't like the way you draw, these characters. I actually prefer the other person's characters, And that was like was it in 1996 or something that he said that? And it's still really fresh in me as that I just thought, okay, I think maybe I should just ditch the black characters, go back to drawing animals or drawing Disney-like characters. So yeah.
Was that a white person saying that?
No, it was a Black person saying that.
Right.
And I think it's because even so I said we didn't have picture books back then, but when we did go into like primary year 3, year 4, we started reading books like, you wouldn't know this, Paul, but there's a book like Eze Goes to School. They're actually so when they print out the books, they're actually in pure black and white. There's no in between.
Oh, no,
and they're even sketches, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're even sketches.
Yeah.
So it's, I think as a continent, and and even as the industry in itself has evolved from not having any colors in books, having early readers for children, having full-blown colored picture books for children, you know. So I think the industry has evolved, and I think you guys are instrumental to what we see in the markets these days.
I think I've sort of taken advantage of the popularity of early readers and the next stage on from picture books. There's been a flourish of those in the last few years. And that's why my Bug Belly was originally a picture book, but it got developed into an early reader, and I've really enjoyed that. And moving, I know you were going to ask about illustrators moving into writing.
Yes. Keep talking. I'm going to get your book.
All right. I wouldn't say I found that a struggle. I found it interesting. So I've always been interested in language, and I joined Scooby. I've read a lot. I've kind of honed my craft to create picture book texts. And then I was asked to do an early reader text, which is 6 times as long. That was a little bit daunting, but again, I worked at it slowly. So in leaps and bounds, small leaps and bounds, I've gone from picture book to early reader. And a book I'm working on now is, I think it's 15,000 words chapter book. Okay. So
did you write that?
I've written that, intended to illustrate it all as well. There'll be about, if it gets published, about 300 pages of illustrations. So that is going to be quite a big task, but it's something I've enjoyed doing. How do you feel about the writing aspect of it, Tolu?
Yeah, I think for me, it was never a transition. I've always wanted to write, and illustrate right from the word go. Even though, yes, I did start with illustrating other people's book, but I had it at the back of my mind that, yes, I want to write my own book. What's that?
Thanks, Sade.
I've always had it, at the back of my mind that, yeah, I'm going to be writing my own books, and illustrating them. And yeah, so that is actually what I'm doing now. The whole exercise of even working on other authors' books was also for me to learn about the industry. Okay. Yeah. See the different style of writing, and learn from it, and then see how I can use whatever it is, such lessons in my own work, And as I've, spoken with Sade, over the phone, I've actually been learning a lot. I've been into publishing quite a long time ago, because I think there's always something about us illustrators or artists. We always, most times, want to be in control of what we do, And I find that I lean more to that, in the sense that, I always have this gut feeling of what I want. And I found out that now telling another person what I'm trying to achieve, and then they come with their own ideas and opinions that doesn't quite bode well with mine, I kind of like tend to switch off, or just like, okay, let me give the project a rest. Yeah. And do something else. Then when I come back to it, I'm coming back with one, research. I've done research. That bit I don't understand, that I was asking another person for, I've gone to find out about it. And then I'm in a better place to now tackle the project head on, to say, okay, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it my way. This way and my way, so yeah.
There is something so satisfying about being in control. It's like a film director. You've got the whole plot laid out. You can control when you work and what. But it has the two books that Sade held up, my first two books, made me realise the importance of a really good editor. Because although I wanted to be in control of the story, I'm so involved with it, sometimes you can't just look up and see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Certain chunks of the text needed moving. If this is going to make sense near the end, then you've got to make more of it early on. And that's not something. And I've learned so much from those first two books. So like you said, you pick up the knowledge as you go along and then apply it onto the next project.
Yes. And then in as much as, yes, I always want to be in control, it's also good to, I mean, speak to other professionals, like for instance, editors. Editors are very vital, because I remember the book I'm working on, when I gave it to the editor, you know, when you've been working on a story for long, you're so attached to it, you know, it's like it's perfect, you know, in your own eyes, in your own world, you know, and then you give it to the editor and the editor just comes in and like chops it, you know, and everything. I had that experience with my book, and I will tell you, it was no joke.
Oh my gosh.
I left the manuscript for I think about 2 months. I didn't touch it because I was like, how dare you chop to bits and pieces my story, you know, for 2 months. I didn't touch it. But eventually, when I came around to it, I was like,
you get it.
This is, I like the angle that this editor has taken, you know. It was after 2 months, I was like, okay, I'm here, I'm back. Okay, I will continue, you know.
Can I ask a question there, though? So, because we writers, we just go ahead and write. By the time an editor looks at our work, all they have to address would be the writing. But in your case, it's most likely that you've even done the illustrations as well. You know, you've probably done the. So if we're ripping a script apart, not only are we ripping the words apart, we're probably ripping the illustrations apart as well. Is that? So it's probably double trouble.
That's certainly true. You need to develop a thick skin as an illustrator, because that's always happened through a long career in illustration. You get used to people having an opinion, but I think you also build up a belief in yourself. You know when you're right, and you know when they might be wrong, but you also know through experience whether the end result demands you making changes. Sometimes you have to swallow your pride and do that, but it is really precious and personal when you've been working on a book for so long.
And I think the other thing about illustrations changing, when you've, like in my case, when you've come to terms with the editing, you find out that some illustrations don't actually fit the edited text. So you will see that even as an illustrator, as the author and the illustrator, like, hey, okay, the editor has changed the text around, so this illustration here wouldn't work with this new text. So it's really up to you to then say, hey, you know what? I need to change that illustration. And that's what I did in my case, because there were some pages that, you know, the text were like taken to the back and some to the front. And then, I had to change the illustrations, or else it just won't work.
Flexibility is so important.
It is.
I guess when you're talking to students and people new to the business, they might bend this way with some editors' opinions and they'll go this way, and they don't yet have their own belief in themselves and confidence that sometimes I might be right and it might end up for a poorer result. One thing I've noticed, another, well, don't say if it's a problem, but I tend to see a story idea in pictures, like scenes from a movie, and I'll see them playing out in my mind and the text sort of goes along at the same time. And I might see this really big spectacular image that I want near the end, that the big show and tell image, and I'll keep it in at any cost And like you said, Tolu, the story might have moved, like sand's moving. Then this one image that I want to keep sticks out like a sore thumb, doesn't belong there anymore. And maybe you do have to go away, like you said, a couple of months, and then you come back and think, yeah, actually, I could lose that now.
Yeah, yeah.
An image like this, so I need to pin this. Oh my gosh. An
There was
image
one
like
image.
an image like that. If an editor told you to get rid of that, what would you do, Paul?
That's upside down as well, sharp.
Yeah, I was going to say.
That's it. There was one other image in that book that I wanted to keep in, where there was a rat chasing the frogs through the woods. And in the end, it was stuck by itself. I'd not introduced the characters early on, but I really wanted this scene in because I thought I'd written it really graphically, and it was a dynamic part. And in the end, the editor said, "We don't need that scene." So saying, yeah, you're right. I'll save it for another time, another book.
Yeah, yeah. Or you can always just keep it in your portfolio or just use it on the website, you know. Because there's some illustrations I've done that doesn't go
They didn't make it. They didn't make it into the book. And just like movies as well. You know, at the end of movies, you get all these clips that never made it through.
Yes.
So
just going back to character representation, I really love the way that you can capture characters, Tolu. The animation, the facial expressions.
Yeah, yeah. You know, like I said earlier, my background is in character animation. So I went to Central St. Martin's. That's where I studied character animation, and we did a whole lot of facial expressions, you know, body language and all that. But I wouldn't say that I got that from the course, you know. Because like I said, I've been drawing since I was very little, you know, and you find out that, you know, when your style of drawing involves humans, you tend to have that sort of like attraction towards, you know, expressions, body language and everything. So I think over the years, what I'm just trying to say that I've been very observant, you know, to really be able to get, you know, the facial expressions, body language, you know, because I found that they are very key, you know, to you communicating your message to the reader, you know.
They can say so much
does a
more
lot of work. What did you say?
They can say so much more than the words. You don't need to write.
Yeah. So I've sort of like, I would say, really mastered that aspect of illustration. Yeah. So I think for me, if I'm going to put it to what's next in store, you know, for children's illustrations, children's picture books, especially as it relates to diversity and inclusivity.
I think it's on a positive roll at the moment. And I think children's books in general are having a heyday.
I'm just talking about various, you know, all the various aspects of diversity.
Well, as I say, I think they're going in the right direction. As a white person looking in on this and seeing what's being published these days, people that probably weren't published, like you say, only 10 years ago, and being asked to talk at events, and you start to see books coming out with there's lots more, like all aspects of life are being celebrated, and book awards being awarded to books in various genres like that. And it has maybe shaken up the industry a bit and had a positive effect.
It definitely has. It definitely, from even my end, it's, you know, I'm seeing a lot of people opening up, and welcoming fresh ideas, you know, rather than just a set sort of like thing whereby, oh, this is how it's always been, this is how we're going to do it, and this is how we're going to keep on doing it, you know. But now it's like, oh, okay, what have you got there? You know, I don't mind having a look, you know, that kind of a thing.
On the other hand, disappointingly, my wife went to a youth library conference last weekend, and it was said there that these days only 1 in 8 schools have a library.
Oh,
so although there's an acknowledgement in the publishing industry to change things, if schools are being underfunded, and there's I can't believe this, 1 in 8 schools have a library. That is absolutely criminal. It should just go hand in hand with education. You need
but you know the thing there, right, is, you know, funding has always been like going down since for a long time now, because I remember that back some years ago they had all these facilities, programs for children that are not even funded now. Some of them have closed. You know, programs like Sure Start used to be like for children. It was very interesting, and for the parents as well, you know. But now, you know, everybody is saying the government is not giving them funding, so as a result, they're having to stop them. So
that kind of leads. Sorry to cut you, Tony. That's what's leading to what my next question would have been. My next question was going to be, do you find that as illustrator authors, you know, so Tony, when you get to that stage that Paul is at, Paul, do you find that people that you're probably more likely to be engaged by a school or by the community, because not only do you write, you also illustrate? Do you find that there's more of an attraction towards you because you have both skills?
I don't think I've recognized that, but it could maybe be a factor, because you can go into schools and if you can draw, there's an immediate connection with the kids, because all the kids love to draw. But I know that writers go into schools and they have lots of props and they engage with the readings, but it's a part of what I'm doing that I do enjoy, whereas I can go into schools, although I've not managed to get into any schools recently. Bookshops, libraries, or events at. And as you know, I've done lots, because my books came out during pandemic. I was driven onto the internet to create lots of resources for Bookbelly. So they're always quite popular when I go into bookshops and libraries. I can bring out some of the Bookbelly resources and we can all draw and share that together.
That's amazing. I think what you've done with your work in just creating content from your stories, I think that's amazing, and creating experiences for children as well. And I think that says a lot about the type of stories that we want to create. But in a way, the other side to it makes me remember about your background in graphics. And when we had that first interview, you talked about how each graphic could be overpowering. Each graphic could be, you know, elaborate within a story, and how you try to tone that down so that the story had, you know, so the story had its own bumps and its own falls and rises. So I find that interesting, the way that you've used content and engaged children with, and I think that's inspirational for us as authors as well, to see that we can do so much with our books. But I guess, I mean, you can only do that, you can do that much if you're not traditionally published, if you own the content. Or do you need to take permission from your publisher, or, you know, can you just launch out and create stuff and get it out and it's free for everyone?
I think mine's a small publisher, 5 Quills, small independent publisher, and I think although they've got their own publicity department, they're really grateful for any of the Bookbelly promotional work that I've done, and it does reflect on my background as a graphic designer. Maybe I'm not doing as much graphic design when I'm working on the book, so that's another outlet where I can create all the resources. And it goes back to something I heard at boot camp, the Scooby boot camp for new to be authors.
Okay.
They always said that don't forget, when you're published, that's when the hard work starts. I always thought that was just a glib throwaway comment that published authors used to say to pre-published authors. But
one of my final questions would be, and I'll throw this at Tolu, especially because of your exposure to having illustrated for a range of ethnicities and projects. When you're being commissioned to illustrate, depending on either the setting of the story and the people that you meet within the setting, the features, would I say features? Are there any technical, and this is not about the skin tone now, are there any technical things that you need to, technical crafts, maybe that's the word, that you would think of embracing in order to engage properly with the project?
Well, I wouldn't say technical. Okay. In as much as I'm saying that I don't have the right word for it, but what I do and what I believe most illustrators do is that you do your research. Okay. You do your research, study the subject matter. There are skyscrapers in Africa, but the way they're constructed will be different from the skyscrapers, let's say, in Iceland.
Okay.
You see, because there are a lot of things you have to put into consideration, the weather, the materials available and all that, and also their style of architecture, you know, because if you want people to relate with what you are doing, you want to bring in things that they can associate themselves with, that they're used to, you know, because, I mean, take for instance, like Disney. They just released, was it Encanto, or I can't remember the title of it.
Okay,
you know,
yeah.
This Colombian movie.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
If you look at it, you won't see like skyscrapers, glass buildings and all that. You know, even the songs as well. It wasn't like they got a rapper with big gold chains, glasses and everything.
They had garlands instead.
No. They actually went in there, you know, they found out their food, their way of life, their style, their fashion, you know, everything, you know. So that when you see things like that, you're like, oh, okay, wow, this is from this part of the world, you know, and you're not confusing people, you know. So I think really, a lot of research for me, if I get a manuscript, I read it to understand it, and then also find out, okay, where is the setting? Where is this taking place? Where is this story taking place? You know, so that I can genuinely represent the text.
Research is the word.
Research is key. Yeah, I would go along with that. And sketchbooks, turn from your research in. Well, I would fill sketchbooks with lots of information, getting used to it, and avoid, if you don't do the research, then you're going to fall into the trap of using cliches. French person with a string of onions around the neck on bikes, which you've seen so often in the past.
It won't even be authentic. It won't be. People would, you know, people can, I mean, you don't have to be an artist to figure that out. You know, once they see your work and it doesn't, all the features and elements you've used doesn't fit, you don't have to be an artist to be able to tell. They would tell you straight up that, look, no, this is not us. You know, so
well, I've had two professionals in the room today, from two very different perspectives as well. I have to say, Tolu, I love the way that the robustness of your characters, because, as you know, I mean, you can see me nicely built. And I look at both your work, and I can, you're so distinct, yet the 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 savor of what you do is just so. I think what I love about illustrations is that you could be so different and yet so good. But as writers, we can't be too different if we want to be good. But just that authenticity that you carry as illustrators, and think you can think about what I'm thinking when I talk about someone like Sir Quentin Blake, and we know what his illustrations are like sticks, and but then that is his own. That's what he brings to the table. That's that's the creativity that he brings to the table, and the way that he's also an author illustrator as well. So
his illustrator's voice is unmistakable when you see his work.
It is.
And I think for me, it's just, as an illustrator, just be who you are, we all have different, we've all gone through different paths to where we've gotten to, and you find out that our styles are really shaped by our experiences. You see, what we've experienced along our journey of life, and I always tell illustrators, that look, hey, embrace it. This is your style. Make the best use of it, and try, look at what other people are doing to see what they're doing with their own style, and then carve your own path.
Exactly.
If you have to copy other people, you will get frustrated easily.
And recognizing yourself in your work and accepting it and realizing, yeah, that's me. There's only one me. You can be unique.
Exactly.
That's an important factor.
It's been a pleasure having you in this space, guys. Now, to round up, 3 fun facts about you. Fact number 1, Paul. And then next we do Paul, then Tolu, Paul. Paul, fact number 1.
Fact number 1, I haven't had time to think about this. I could just say that I'm actually working on something at the moment. Tolu mentioned some nursery rhymes and fairy tales. I'm working on a reworking of a fairy tale. I'm deeply immersed in that at the moment. So not bug belly and frogs anymore, just at the moment.
Fantastic. Fact number 1 for you, Tolu.
Fun fact.
Fun fact. It could be anything. Okay, we'll give you time to think. Fact number 2.
What some people don't realize about me is that I enjoy doing amateur magic. As well as all the drawings in my plan chest at the side of me, there's one drawer dedicated to magic tricks. So I've done a couple of kids' birthday party events. Although
that should get out into the world. That should get out into the
It does. One tip for that: do your magic before they get the sugar rush. Before all the desserts come out.
Exactly. And fact number 3, Paul, go for it.
I don't have.
Totally still thinking.
You need to give me time to think about that, then I can write it down. Oh, I do get lots of my ideas when I'm out mountain biking. That's where my mind floats away freely, and I can plot and plan.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Okay.
Your turn.
For me, number 1, okay. One thing I haven't been able to do is shake off papers, because I've always grown up with papers around me. So even in the digital age where I do most of my work on the computer, I still have loads of sketchbooks. I've got them there in my, and I've got papers. I've got tiny illustrations or maybe ideas and stuff like that. So I've not been able, I don't know, I've not been able to shake paper, away from it. So it's like everywhere I go, I have papers,
So you're addicted to paper. So your fact number one, you're addicted to paper. Fact two.
And then two, I think, I try to be funny. And then most times
you've got to crack a joke now. Sorry.
Nope. I crack dry jokes. People don't laugh at my jokes, but they laugh at the fact that I crack dry jokes.
I'm laughing already.
There you go. You see? So yeah, I didn't want to say that, but
it worked.
And
fact number three.
Number three. Yeah, just like Paul said, I'm a very visual person. I think visually, especially even books. When I'm writing, I've got stories, I start with pictures, I can sketch out a whole book without writing a single word.
That's who you are. That's why you're an illustrator.
There you go.
That sums it up for you both, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you ever so much, gentlemen. It's been my pleasure having you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been very interesting. And it's good to see Paul, yeah.
Thank you, everybody. And these guys are going to carry on chatting, but we've got to go. Bye-bye. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for hosting.
Thank you.